Hey guys, this is Ishita here from Language Academy. So today we are going to cover one of the most important tasks of PTE, I would say, which is your repeat sentences. Repeat sentences contributes heavily towards your speaking as well as the listening score. So if you are not getting your score in listening for whatever reason, repeat sentence can also be one of them. Right? Repeat sentence is the second task of your speaking section. In this, what you'll need to do is you're going to hear a sentence which is generally 8 to 15 words long, nowadays also going up to 22 words. What you need to do is you need to repeat the sentence exactly as you hear it within 3 seconds. In this, you're not going to have any preparation time, and you're also not going to hear a beep sound to start speaking. So in this, a very common mistake that students make is that they're too focused at their notepads, which is why they forget the 3-second rule. Now, in the 3-second rule, what happens is that if you don't speak within 3 seconds of the recording, what happens is that you're not going to be marked for that particular question. So be very, very careful while doing this in your repeat sentences. Make sure that you're focused on the screen as soon as the speaker finishes speaking. Right? So I'll just go through the marking for this particular question. But before I do that, just some things that you need to keep in mind for this particular question. They are trying to make this very difficult, right? A few ways in which they do that is, like I've told you before, the words are going up to 22 words. Besides that, the speed of the speaker can get very, very fast. Nowadays, the accent is also very difficult to understand, right? Another thing which is going on nowadays is that they're also playing background music along with the sentence. And the speaker's voice is very dim as well. Right? So you will need to pay very, very close attention. You will need to be very focused when you are doing this particular task. Right? Now, I'll just go through the marking with you. Right? So you're going to get around 10 to 12 repeat sentences in your exam. It does contribute around 20 to 25 marks towards your listening section. Right? How you're marked for your speaking is you're going to get 5 marks for your fluency. I'm going to tell you how that 5 marks are given to you in a minute. You're given 5 marks for your pronunciation and 3 marks for your content. Now, like I mentioned here, your fluency and your pronunciation score goes towards your speaking section, and your content score is given 100% towards your listening section. Right? Now, how you mark for your fluency is, number 1, there must be no hesitations in your voice. Right? There should be no unnatural pauses. So what an unnatural pause is when you pause to think of something. Right? If you're pausing at a comma or a full stop, which is a slight half a second pause, that is acceptable, right? But when you pause to think of something, your fluency decreases straight away, right? Your 3-second rule is also part of that fluency, right? So if you start speaking after 3 seconds, just like I mentioned to you before, you're not going to be marked for that particular question, right? Be very, very mindful of any repetitions that you may take, right? If you ever go back and correct yourself, that is going to be harshly penalized for your entire speaking module, right? Also make it a habit, just diverting a bit, just make it a habit. As soon as you finish speaking in any question of your speaking, make sure that you are clicking on next. Do not wait for the recording to finish, right? That is going to affect your fluency and also indirectly your speaking score, right? So click on next as soon as you finish speaking, right? So that's for your fluency. In terms of your pronunciation, you need to speak loudly and clearly, right? Why loudly? Because you're going to be sitting the exam with around 10 to 12 other people with you in one particular room, right? So if you're soft, you're not going to be heard in the microphone. Your computer will not be able to hear you. The background noise is going to be much louder than your voice, right? So be very careful that you're speaking a bit louder than your actual voice, right? Why clear? Because it's a computer marking your work, not a person, right? So if there's no clarity in your words, highly likely that your pronunciation is going to go down, right? Now, in terms of your content, like I mentioned to you, this is where your listening marks come in, right? 20 to 25 marks from this task go towards your listening section, just in terms of content. Now, there is a portioned marking for your content. What that means is, out of 3, you're going to get 3 marks. You're going to get a full score if you speak 100% of the words and they are in a correct sequence, right? I'll explain to you how that works in a minute as well with an example, right? But just in terms of theory, you're going to get 2 out of 3 if you speak more than 50% of the words and they are in a correct sequence, and 1 out of 3 if you speak more than 25% of the words and they also need to be in a correct sequence, right? Now let's take an example. I have an example here, which is Rahul is playing basketball with his friends and family, right? Now, let's say for whatever reason you only got half of the sentence, right? That can happen in the exam as well. Please do not get demotivated, right? What generally tends to happen is as soon as that happens, we tend to hesitate and we fumble the rest of the words as well, right? So what I want you to do if that ever happens is, number 1, please be confident with whatever you remember, right? Do not ever skip the question. Do not say, I don't know, right? You need to understand that there is no negative marking in your entire speaking section, right? So what you need to do if that ever happens is, number 1, be confident with the words that you know. So let's say you only remember half of the sentence, right? So you only remember Rahul is playing basketball, right? For the other half, what I want you to do is please just make something up, right? Do not just skip the question and do not start fumbling, do not start hesitating, right? So just say Rahul is playing basketball and I'm very happy today, right? How that is going to help you is, number 1, whatever you said, you did not hesitate, right? You did not repeat yourself and you did not pause to think of anything, right? Whatever you said, you were loud and clear, which means you're going to get 5 and 5 for your fluency and pronunciation respectively, right? So that's you securing at least 10 out of 13 of your score, right? So you need to maximize as many points as you can, right? And 10 out of 13, I believe, is much better than a 0, right? So if that ever happens, please do not hesitate. Just make the most of whatever you can. Do not get discouraged. Do not think it's the end of your exam, please, right? Now, what I'm going to next is the strategy. Now, one strategy which we believe works with a lot of students is the strategy of initials. Now, what this means is that when the speaker is speaking the sentence, what you need to do is you're going to have your notepad and your pen in front of you, and you're going to write down the first letter of every single word that you hear, right? I've got that down here, which is the first letter of each and every word, right? Now, it may look like jargon to you, it may look nonsensical, but I'll tell you how that helps, right? If you've written down the initials of each and every word, number 1, everything is concrete, everything is down on your paper, right? So that ensures that you're not going to break the sequence of the entire sentence, right? And let's say you've forgotten a few words from the middle. At least you know what the sequence of the remaining sentence is supposed to be, right? So what you can do instead of hesitating or instead of thinking of the remaining words is say whatever it is that you know, and you say it in the correct sequence, right? That is why the strategy helps. It is not an easy strategy. It is going to take you a lot of time to get and perfect the strategy as well, right? So don't get demotivated if you do 30, 40 and you're not getting it right. I believe you need to do at least 200 to 300, right? Now, try and practice at least 30 to 40 repeat sentences every single day without fail. It should be like brushing your teeth, right? Unless and until you do that, repeat sentence, like I've mentioned to you before, it is one of the most important questions in your entire PTE exam, right? If you're missing your score in either speaking or listening, repeat sentences can be the reason. So please make sure you're practicing as many repeat sentences as you possibly can, right? Now, if you have any further questions in relation to your repeat sentences, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will be with you next week in another video. If you have any suggestions as to what the video must be, please leave that in the comment section as well. I will be more than happy to answer all your questions. Thank you.